Well, former President Trump telling Fox News Digital he believes President Biden will be the nominee for the Democrats, despite his performance at the debate, which brought calls from at least 5 major media outlets and the left for Biden to drop out. New polling from CBS News and YouGov finding 72% of registered voters say President Biden should not be running for president. 72% also say Biden does not have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. Meanwhile, members of President Biden's family meeting at Camp David this weekend, reportedly blaming his top campaign advisors and the CNN moderators for the president's poor debate performance, saying advisors overprepared him and they should be fired or demoted. The report also says that First Lady Jill Biden and Hunter were the loudest voices urging the president to stay in the 2024 contest. Joining me now, Republican strategist and Madison firm lead attorney Jonathan Madison, and Democratic consultant and former House Judiciary Committee Chief Counsel Julian Epstein. Gentlemen, it's great to have you both here. And Julian, I do want to start with you because on one side you have top allies of President Biden going on the Sunday shows. One of them went on another network this morning defending President Biden. He's our nominee, sticking with him. But privately, you have another story playing out within the Democrats, and that's that they are, well, quote, freaking out. And that is a quote. Julian, what's going on with the Democrats? What are you hearing?
Well, I think it's a mess, and I think this is what happens when you quash dissent within your party. 65 to 80% of the American people have, not just in recent months, but for well over a year, I think, polled and said that they think that President Biden doesn't have the capacity for a second term. And I get sort of the Biden family circling around Biden right now. There's something admirable about, protecting your husband and your father. I get that. But at a certain point, this magical thinking sort of becomes self-delusionary and a betrayal to the country and a betrayal to the party. This was very, very foreseeable a long time ago, but the party quashed dissent. I wrote about this, 16, 17 months ago, and I got nothing but, criticism from the left. But this is, again, what happens when you don't have a vetting process and you don't have dissent within the party. This was entirely foreseeable. And the mainstream media, who is now saying Biden needs to get out, where were you 6 months ago, 5 months ago, 4 months ago, when you should have been doing your job as independent journalism, critical thinking, rather than being a cheerleader for the Democrats? And this is very painful for me to say, because I hate to see my party shoot itself in the foot in such a dramatic way at such a critical time. Yeah. But this is a mess of the Democrats' making. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Jonathan, how do you see it?
Well, I agree to some extent. I mean, if there's one thing I agree with on the Biden campaign in terms of changes they should make going forward, perhaps they can start with firing whoever thought it would be a great idea to debate Donald Trump at this stage in the election, right? Whoever said, hey, it'd be a great idea, this is what's going to really help us going forward, fire that person immediately. The damage is already done, but years from now, mark my words, Cheryl, when the Democrats look back at this election, they're going to say the single greatest mistake we made is allowing Joe Biden to debate Donald Trump. And it's the biggest mistake because the performance revealed what these 72% of Americans we've been talking about. It revealed and it confirmed the question they've been asking and we've been asking. And I'll address the elephant in the room right now. Who's really making the decisions in the Oval Office, yep. Right? We're not relying, or we're not going to believe that someone who can't tell the difference at any given time between supporting and beating Medicare, are they really making decisions about potential world wars and foreign policy and all of these things that affect the American people from the top down, border control issues, crime? I just don't believe it. There's someone, or perhaps some cohort of his staff, that are making the decisions that were not elected to be president of the United States of America.
Well, you know what? Joe Biden, Julian, wasn't elected. Jill Biden, but she's on Vogue now, and this is new this morning. She's on the cover. She vows not to give up on the 2024 race despite her husband's debate performance, says that Joe, quote, is always going to do what's best for the country. Julian, this is a big question right now. Who is running the country? Is it Jill Biden? Is it Obama officials? I don't know. You tell me.
Look, I think that's a reasonable question, and I think what disturbs many people is, the world is blowing up. It's blowing up in the Mideast, it's blowing up in China, Ukraine, even in areas of Africa and Latin America. We have hot zones on every single continent right now. And how is the president going to make key decisions if he sort of can't distinguish between the 1.4% inflation rate in the last year of the Trump presidency, claiming it was a 15% inflation rate? So I think that point is well taken, and I think there is some accounting and reckoning for the first family, who has known for a long time of the president's decision. And, again, while I agree, I understand defending your family is a very laudable and honorable thing, there is a point at which it becomes betrayal to the country, and it starts to look like you're craven and holding on to power in a very, very unhelpful way. And again, the mistake was not the debate. I mean, the debate was actually helpful in the sense that it put this issue on the table early enough rather than in September. The mistake was by the Democrats not having an honest discussion about this much, much earlier in the process, the way they should have, and the news media sort of, flacking for the Democrats the way they shouldn't. This should be a wake-up call for the Democratic Party and for the news media.
Well, because the news media was the mainstream media was just taking the talking points from the White House. He's fine, he's vital. Now we've got a new report out that says he's only really available mentally from 10 to 4 p.m. Anyway, there's huge issues happening. But before you guys go, I got to ask you about this. Today's a big day for the Supreme Court. They are ruling today on former President Trump's immunity case. The timing could mean that the special counsel could hold that trial before voters head to the polls, although many say that's not likely. Trump basically has written about this on Truth Social. I'll read part of this. Without presidential immunity, a president of the U.S. literally could not function. It should be a strong immunity where our country can be powerful, thrive, where opponents cannot hold up and extort a future president for political gain. So, Jonathan, put your legal hat on for me, if you don't mind. What do you expect from the court today?
I mean, the legal implications are going to be historic, and I'm sure Julian is going to agree. I mean, look, everybody agrees that presidential immunity is there for a reason. And, one of the things that President Trump identified and just reminded the voters of is, look, Joe Biden could be held accountable. If these actions are being taken the way that they're going right now and the way that the courts are coming down, if they actually start to ignore this whole concept of presidential immunity, there are going to be dire ramifications going forward. And then maybe you're going to have a look-back period. Hey, let's investigate Barack Obama. Let's investigate people of the past. Right? So it's very dangerous. We're really erring on some troubled waters, if you think about it.
Julian, I got 10 seconds, real quick.
The fact that the Justice Department and the left didn't see this issue coming is a big surprise. Criminal immunity for the president has never been decided. It was entirely foreseeable that the Supreme Court would have to start determining the contours of what is official and unofficial acts for the purpose of criminal immunity. That's what they will do. There will not be a trial because there will take too much time on the remand back to the district court to go through the direction from the Supreme Court on this.
Well, we'll know. We're going to know in basically 2 hours and 15 minutes. Julian Epstein, Jonathan Madison, guys, thank you so much.